Hey guys, this is the new GoPro Mission 1 Pro, a new camera by GoPro that's part of a whole new lineup they came out with. So in this video, I want to compare it to the traditional GoPro HERO13, which is considered by many to be the top action camera on the market, especially for daylight use. So real quickly, I just want to explain what the Mission 1 cameras are. GoPro recently announced a new line of cameras called the Mission 1. There's 3 different cameras in the lineup. There's the Mission 1, the Mission 1 Pro, which is this one that I'm going to talk about in this video. And there's also the Mission 1 Pro ILS, which has an interchangeable lens system. Basically, the Mission 1 and the Mission 1 Pro are very similar cameras. They're a closed system like you would expect on a GoPro, so it's nice and durable and tough. There are only a few differences between the Mission 1 and the Mission 1 Pro, so I'll show you those throughout this video when they come up. The ILS, on the other hand, is quite a different camera because it has that interchangeable lens system. So I'm not going to talk about this here in this video. And just so you know, and from what I understand, the Mission 1 lineup is not replacing the Hero lineup. So it's not a replacement for the HERO13. And I assume there will be a HERO14 in the future. That's just my guess. But this camera is just kind of offering a new type of camera, even though it's quite similar. So I'm going to show you guys what this camera can do and the differences between these two cameras, because this thing does cost a lot more than any other GoPro ever has. Also, before I start showing you these comparisons, I want to make sure that it's really clear for you guys. So I'm always going to put the Mission 1 Pro footage on the left and the HERO13 or any other cameras I show you guys on the right side of the screen. All of the sample footage that I show you guys will just be taken using some automatic settings on here. I'm not going to get all custom because obviously more advanced users can do that. But if you're just wanting to see what you get out of this camera straight away, that's what I want to show you guys. So let's get out there and take a look at them. The first thing that I want to talk about with these two cameras is the price. And usually that's the last thing I'd like to talk about. But I feel like I'd like to just get started on the right foot and tell you guys there's a huge difference in price between these two cameras. The list price for the HERO13 is $430, but it's usually on sale for quite a bit cheaper. Whereas the Mission 1 Pro is $699, but if you are a GoPro subscriber, you can get $100 off, so it makes it $599. So it's quite a big difference between a regular GoPro. That's why I'm making this video for you guys, to help you decide if the upgrades in this camera are going to be worth it for you. All right, now let's take a look at the design and reliability of these two cameras. If you take a look at the Mission 1 Pro and the HERO13 side by side, you can definitely see that the Mission 1 Pro is a bigger camera. It's really not any taller, but it is a lot wider on that lens there. And also on the back of the camera, you can see it's just a little bit wider. The body's not actually thicker, but this lens makes it a bit thicker. So it's definitely a bigger GoPro. It's also a bit heavier. The HERO13 weighs about 159 grams, whereas the Mission 1 Pro weighs 207 grams. So it's a bit heavier, but I don't feel like I notice a huge difference in most activities because it's really pretty light anyways, even though it's the heaviest of any action camera. One of the things I find really interesting about the Mission 1 Pro is it's this new line of compact cinematic cameras, they're calling it, yet it still feels like a GoPro. You know, it's a closed camera. You're not going to get dust in there on the sensor. It's durable. You can drop it. Like, I don't feel like you have to be any more careful with this than you would with a regular GoPro. The HERO13 and the Mission 1 Pro are both waterproof as is. So as long as those side doors are closed, you can take these cameras in the water just like this. And the HERO13 can go to 10 meters, whereas the Mission 1 Pro can go down to 20 meters. So it's got a deeper depth rating. And they both have diaph housings if you want to go deeper. Both cameras have the same mounting. So they've got these fingers here on the bottom. They've also got a quick release mount. So you can use that with GoPro's quick release mount. And there's also the 1/4" /20 thread here on the bottom for mounting it to a tripod screw. So mounting it is no different than mounting the HERO13. As far as battery life, GoPro has really been behind as far as quick charging and also the battery life on these cameras. And luckily, they really improved that here greatly on the Mission 1 Pro with a new battery that's called the Enduro2. What's great about this Enduro2 battery is it obviously increases the battery life tremendously on the Mission 1 Pro, but it's also cross-compatible with the HERO13. So you don't have to upgrade your camera if all you're looking for is more battery life. You can just buy the Enduro2 battery. The Enduro2 battery also has amazing quick charging. So when it's inside the Mission 1 Pro, it'll charge to 80% in just 20 minutes. Well, now if you want to use it with your HERO13, you can't charge it using quick charging inside the HERO13, but you can buy the dual battery charger for the Enduro2 battery. Quick charge your batteries and stick them in the HERO13 when you're ready to go film. I ran some tests with both of the cameras using the Enduro2 battery to see how that would improve the battery life. However, the battery life on the HERO13 wasn't improved very much. So I think most of the improvement in battery life is actually due to that GP3 processing chip in the Mission 1 Pro. When it comes to speed, processing, and how well this camera performs, I've had amazing results with it. And that's mainly because of this new processor they put in there. It's called the GP3. The GoPro HERO13 has the GP2, which has been around for quite a few generations of GoPro. So this new processing chip in here just minimizes overheating, increases the low light that I'm going to show you guys, and is able to work with that new larger sensor that I'm also going to show you in here. When I heard the Mission 1 Pro records 8K at 60 frames per second and 4K at 240, which I'm going to show you guys, the first thing I thought is this thing is just going to be overheating. Like, I could just picture the flames on the thumbnails. And so I tested it and I was amazed. This camera performs really well. And if you're recording in 4K at 60 frames per second, it just won't overheat at all. So you can record a full battery. I tried to get it to overheat, so I set it on my countertop with no circulation and ran it at 4K at 240 frames per second. And it ran continuously for 35 minutes before overheating. I tried it multiple times, and out in the world, it'll run even longer if you have airflow. So if overheating has been a problem for you guys, the Mission 1 Pro does not have that problem. Neither of these cameras have internal storage, which is kind of unfortunate. I do like that internal storage. So you do need to use that micro SD card to store your photos and videos. GoPro cameras have notoriously been great for image quality. The Mission 1 Pro has 1-inch, 50 megapixel sensor, whereas the HERO13 has a 1/1.9-inch sensor that's 27.6 megapixels. This 1-inch sensor is what's going to really improve this image quality because it increases the pixel size in your videos. When you record in 8K, you've got a 1.6 micrometer pixel, but when you step it down into 4K, it's able to combine the pixels in a way that it makes it a 3.2 micrometer pixel size. That large pixel size is what really helps with the low light footage, that dynamic range, and it's why the 4K footage on this Mission 1 Pro just looks amazing. I mean, the 8K footage looks amazing too, but when you step it down to 4K, it can really benefit from that quad Bayer sensor. When it comes to colors, when you place the videos from these cameras side by side, they both definitely have that characteristic GoPro style color science. You can see in the HERO13 image on the right, it's a little bit more processed looking and a little more bright and contrasty right out of the camera. And that's probably just because it's aimed more at people who are kind of beginning and want those videos ready to share. Whereas the Mission 1 Pro footage is definitely a little more dialed in and more on a balanced, little more professional side. But if you are looking for that pop right out of the camera, the HERO13 might look better. It's just when you get closer, you're gonna realize that the Mission 1 Pro image is actually technically a better quality image. When it comes to resolution, the HERO13 records 5.3K video, and the Mission 1 Pro records in up to 8K video. And both of these cameras can record in those high resolutions at 60 frames per second. So that gives you about 2 to 2.5 times slow motion, even in those high resolutions. Obviously the Mission 1 Pro is higher, but the HERO13 still has really high resolution. So I'm gonna zoom in way beyond where I normally would zoom in just to show you what the images look like super up close. And it should look a little pixelated because I'm zooming in way farther than you really should when you're editing your videos. The bit rates on the Mission 1 Pro are much higher, about double of what you get on the HERO13. So it's gonna make larger files, but it also makes higher quality video. There's also lower options if you don't wanna use such a high bit rate for such large files, but at least it's there for you if you want that professional level quality out of your GoPro. If you want even slower slow motion, both of these cameras can record in 4K at up to 120 frames per second. And if you want even slower, the Mission 1 Pro is the only camera that can go up to 4K at 240 frames per second. And on the HERO13, if you want that 240 frames per second, you have to lower it down to 2.7K. So you're just getting less resolution. It's not gonna look as clear if you are playing your videos in 4K. If you want even slower, super slow motion, both of these cameras have this really fun burst video mode where you can record at a super high frame rate at a lower resolution for just like a short stint of time. On the HERO13, you can record in 720p at 400 frames per second, but it's gonna be a more narrow, zoomed in perspective. And on the Mission 1 Pro, you can record in 1080 at 960 frames per second. And this is just like amazing, smooth, slow motion, and it's still decent resolution, especially for social media. I've been having tons of fun actually filming waves with that mode and going back and watching it in slow motion on the touchscreen. And it's just like frozen time, liquid. I just like it. It's really crisp and clear, and it almost looks like time's frozen, but yet it's still moving. The regular Mission 1 also does not have that super slow motion burst video. Another thing that can be really important in your videos is the aspect ratio or the shape of your video. And the HERO13 has an 8:7 aspect ratio, which I really like. It's almost like a square, so it's a really big frame. Whereas on the Mission 1 Pro, it's a maximum 4:3 aspect ratio. So you don't have as tall of a frame as you do with the HERO13. The benefit of having these different aspect ratios that are taller than the frame you're actually using is you can then take your video and you can export either a vertical video or a horizontal video out of the same one. And this is known as open gate. And there's a dedicated open gate mode on the Mission 1 Pro. However, it's kind of the same thing that you could always do with the GoPros. They have that 8:7 aspect ratio. So you could always pull that vertical or horizontal frame out of your video. So it's not really something new, but because it's 8K on the Mission 1 Pro, you can get that full 4K even at a vertical video or a horizontal video. There's also a new setting called image tuning here on the Mission 1 Pro. And this image tuning gives you different options, such as a balance. There's also an underwater image tuning. Other companies such as DJI and Insta360 have come out with these underwater image toning. So GoPro kind of counteracted that here with this underwater image tuning. It's going to make the water look a little more blue instead of getting that kind of yellowish tint. They also came out with a new log color, which is called GP Log 2. This is just a refined log color for the GoPro Mission 1 Pro, since it is aimed more at professional and advanced filmmakers. GoPro has some great color grading profiles you can use for either the HERO13 or the Mission 1 Pro. It's going to make it really easy to color grade that footage. Both cameras also have true HDR, so they've got HLG HDR if you're into that. Now let's take a look at some low light footage, because with that larger sensor and the new GP3 processor, there's a dedicated low light video mode here on the Mission 1 Pro. Insta360 and DJI have come out with some great low light video modes, so I'm going to throw their camera footage in here too, just so you can see a good comparison of where a GoPro like the HERO13 has traditionally fallen short, and show you how the Mission 1 Pro compares. If you are leaning towards one of the other action cameras like the DJI Action 6 or the Insta360 Ace Pro 2, I have in-depth comparisons of the GoPro HERO13 versus those cameras, so you can really make up your mind and see a lot of footage. When I talk about improved low light footage on the Mission 1 Pro, I'm not just talking about recording at night. There are a lot of different scenarios where a sensor that can handle low light better is going to come into play. The first low light scenario I want to show you is actually what I would call mid-light. And this is during daylight hours where you're, say, in a shady area. You can get a lot of things happening in your footage that you don't really want to see, such as jittery footage. And if you're not holding your camera steady, that ends up happening a lot. Well, with the Mission 1 Pro, with the new larger pixels and this larger sensor, as well as that faster processor, I've noticed that that jittery footage is basically gone until you get into really, really low light situations. It's really a big difference. And that's probably one of the biggest areas you're going to see it for your GoPro style footage. Once you get into night and you start filming in really dark scenes, it always helps to have a little bit of a light source to pull in some light. But even in almost no light, this camera is going to pick up some light and actually keep a good image quality. But the amount of light that it can pull in is pretty amazing, as you can see here in these comparisons. And if you zoom in closer on all these, that's where you can really start to see the details happen. And you can see the Mission 1 Pro holds up really well. Another thing I want to talk about is, because there is a 1-inch sensor on the Mission 1 Pro, this is one of the things that's been avoided in action cameras, except for the Action 6 until recently, because it requires a larger minimum focus distance. So a 1-inch sensor just cannot focus as close. It's just the nature of the sensor. So the minimum focus distance is about 20 to 24 inches on this Mission 1 Pro. Now that's basically at arm's length here. So you can hold your camera out and still vlog with it, but you're gonna have to hold it a little bit farther from your face. So you may wonder how these cameras work for action shots where the camera's mounted really close. They both work really well. They both have a really wide field of view, so you can see a lot of what's in your shot. As far as digital lenses go, on the Mission 1 Pro, GoPro had to remove the hyperview lens because that hyperview lens takes advantage of the 8:7 sensor on the HERO13 and shrinks it down into a 16:9 frame. So if you look at the side-by-side comparisons here, you can see that Super View on the Mission 1 Pro actually captures a wider field of view, but you're not going to get as much of the top and the bottom in the frame as you do on the HERO13 using hyperview. They also both have one of my favorite features of GoPros that I think it does really well, is adding horizon lock into these videos. So you can just record, and as your camera rotates, the horizon's going to be locked. On the Mission 1 Pro, you can record in 4K at 120 frames per second and still have full 360 horizon lock, whereas on the HERO13, you can record in 4K at 60 frames per second. So now I just want to show you guys some of the modes, because it's always interesting when they mix the modes up on you. They basically have the same modes between the two cameras. They've added a couple of different things that I want to tell you about. First of all, there's that dedicated low light video mode, which I told you guys about. You can also add a vlog mode, for example, that's got the face image tuning, so it's just ready to go. And there's also a subject tracking feature here on the Mission 1 Pro that's really, really good. You can turn it on for any of the different modes. And because it's using an 8K sensor, it's actually going to follow you around the frame as you move. If you guys want to see all the settings and modes and how to really operate this camera, I've got a full beginner's guide that takes you from start to finish. It's a great beginner's guide to help you get started, and you'll really understand this camera by the time you're done. I also have a book for the Mission 1 Pro and the HERO13 that's just a great guide to help you understand these cameras so you can get the maximum quality footage out of it and get what you're really looking for. I'll put links for those in the video description below so you can check them out. Both cameras also take photos. You can get 50 megapixel photos here on the Mission 1 Pro and 27 megapixel photos here on the GoPro HERO13. Then they also have GPS built in if you want to share your stats. Audio is really important if you're vlogging and you need good audio, and they took care of that with the Mission 1 Pro. There's 4 mics instead of 3. It's also got 32-bit float audio, so you can really fine tune your audio, especially in those windy conditions. You can also now on the Mission 1 Pro for the first time, not have to use a mic adapter. You can just use the USB port to connect to your microphone directly. Now I'm just gonna go out into the world and give you guys a sample of the audio so you can hear what it sounds like directly in the camera using the mics that are built in. It's a beautiful sunrise, first thing in the morning. Just loving the daylight coming up. And just wanna give you guys a little audio sample so you can hear what the microphones sound like right here in the camera. So lucky. I love filming nature stuff like this. It's just amazing. Like, so worth it getting up early, having that cup of tea and just getting on the road. Although it's not easy for me to do. Because these cameras both mount exactly the same, both of them are compatible with almost all the different mounts that you can buy from GoPro or other companies. There's some special accessories that are also available for each of these different cameras. One of the accessories that GoPro came out with is this grip here for the Mission 1 Pro, and it just slides in there really easy. It's a real easy grip to use because it doesn't actually connect digitally. You just slide it in there and it allows you to hold your camera more like a traditional point and shoot camera. You've also got this lens hood here for reducing glare on that bigger lens, but that's nice when you're out filming and you're just trying to avoid the sunlight hitting your lens. One thing that I would have liked to have seen on the Mission 1 Pro is a flip screen like they put on the Ace Pro 2. I feel like for cinematic style filming, that really does help be able to get the shot at different angles. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't put it on the Mission 1 Pro since it's geared at cinematic filming. There's also a new media mod coming for the Mission 1 Pro that I can show you guys when I get my hands on it. But it's gonna have a dead cat and a lot of other input-output ports and things that are gonna make it easier for you to take your footage to a more professional level. One of the things the Mission 1 Pro doesn't have that the HERO13 does is those add-on lenses. On the HERO13, there's already the macro lens, which I really like. There's also that ultra wide angle lens, which gives you amazing super wide angle shots. So if you aren't using that ultra wide lens, it's not available yet for the Mission 1 Pro. So if that's a big deal, you might want to hold off until they come out with it. If they do, I don't know. Hopefully they do. But right now there's just ND filters that you can put on there and those will be automatically detected. Hey guys, it's the evening. I'm wrapping up this video and I just want to share some final thoughts with you about the HERO13 versus the Mission 1 Pro. Both of these cameras are super solid cameras. They create some great quality video. And I think it kind of depends on what you're using it for, which one you should choose. The HERO13 during daylight captures amazing footage. It's really cheap compared to the Mission 1 Pro and it's high quality. So you can get some really good footage out of this. And I think if you don't want to pay the extra money for the Mission 1 Pro, the HERO13 is a solid choice. The Mission 1 Pro, on the other hand, is a much more expensive camera with some added benefits, but I also really like to film a lot of cinematic shots and I love super slow motion. So that's where it really comes into play for me, is that super slow motion that I've kind of been waiting for in these action cameras. But it definitely comes at a hefty price. So I think if you're making some payback on your investment, or you just don't mind spending the extra money on the camera, it's definitely worth it. So what do you guys think? Which one are you gonna go with? Are you gonna stick with your HERO13, wait for the HERO14, see what that is, or go with the Mission 1 Pro? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you do decide to go with the Mission 1 Pro or the HERO13, I've got a great beginner's guide for either of these cameras, and also that useful book that you can really check out to get dialed in with either of these cameras. I'll put the links in the video description below, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.